But I think it's kind of sad because, like, yeah, the Christian story is that, like, God. It's really that simple, right? Like Calvinists, some Calvinists make it like an ivory tower thing, but it really just is as simple as that, like, this Creator loves sinners so much that He sends His Son to die for them. That's the story. So it's easy to lose track of that in the everyday things of life, and especially when you're experiencing suffering.
Well, but it's the nature of the procession. If you proceed from the source that is a father, then you must be a son and an only son. This is the nature of a procession. Have you ever heard the word procession? Have you paid heed to the prefix pro in the word procession?
There's just gonna be stuff like that. Like, it doesn't.
Well, you see, the word responsible, it's in the word. Response. Able. You have to be able to respond. Part of what moral responsibility is.
What, Lenny?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, dude?
Do you have anything on Michael Martin?
Dude, other than Bonson's like the great debate that never happened thing, and Scott Oliphant's lectures on condescension. No, I don't. Oh, didn't Frame have like a
Had an exchange with him. Butler too.
yeah.
I have a question. I have a question. What? How would you respond? Do you agree with like Frame's responses or something?
How would I respond to Michael Martin?
Yeah, like his reverse problem of induction.
Isn't so his argument goes something like, if Christianity were true, there's this entity who acts miraculously, and so you're always in a position where you have to kind of beg the question against his miraculous interference or something like that. Like it's always I'm never able to rule out that in a given scenario there's not like a miraculous explanation for what's going on or something like that. Is that like the idea?
Maybe. Answer that. I think it might be a little different.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't looked up Michael Martin stuff in like ages, but from what I remember, it's just like it's like a really good problem for like a god that's just like a bare theism type god, or maybe like if you had a god and there was maybe some case you could make where it's like, look, there's these examples in this religion of God being super arbitrary or something like that. Like I could even imagine somebody going back to the Old Testament and being like, look how arbitrary Yahweh is. I wouldn't be convinced by that, but you could at least like see how they can like maybe start to make a case. But it just seems like the Christian idea of miracles is more orderly than that. Like you think that God does weird things for very specific purposes that are actually expectable and not unpredictable. So it's also the kind of thing where they're not like, I think I'd have to think about it, but it seems to me like maybe the two factors that Michael needs working are, like, on the one hand, that you can never retroduce about events. So like if if I was never able to recognize a miracle for what it is, if I wasn't able to distinguish miracles from like natural events after the fact, then that would be problematic. But I'm not sure exactly what the motivation would be for thinking that just because God has the power to, miraculously come up with weird explanations for all kinds of different stuff that we think is normal, uh, that that's that that's what's going on in these examples of things that we consider weird or supernatural or whatever. Like the idea is like after a miracle happens, it's a miracle because it's just weird. It seems like that's an important part of the argument. But it seems like you need to kind of you need that to like kind of get lost. Like that needs to be dropped, and you need to say something like, "But how do you know that that's not always going on, or that at any time you go to reason about things, that's not what's going on?" Which like might be a fair question, but then like the issue is like maybe you just have an idea of miracles that can distinguish the normal operations of the universe from when God's doing something wondrous or whatever. And then the other factor that I think is going on is like Martin is just not Martin's just not appreciating how miracles are always uh, uh, fulfilling like two purposes. One is that they're like there's always some kind of like historical context for God's rescuing activities for his people. They're always provisional. They do something to keep his people alive, to protect them, to keep their hopes or whatever. So it seems like Martin would have to have like an even like a crazy radical skepticism about interpreting acts of agents in general for that to really be a problem. And the other thing that miracles always fulfill is that they have some kind of category that relates them to Christ. Like maybe they foreshadow him, or maybe they point out a problem that he's like the resolution to it or something. Like it could be any kind of weird, it could be any kind of formula for it. There's no like one size fits all, but miracles are inherently Christocentric. They're not. It's not like God just comes down and makes a bridge because he feels like impressing the Israelites one day or something like that. And that's the kind of thing where it's like, well, Michael Martin could maybe like try to come up with an exegetical argument that that's just not true, or it's not faithful to the text or whatever, and that would be interesting. But I think he's just coming at it from philosophy and just doesn't appreciate the way Christians have a much stricter idea of what miracles do, or at least a lot of Christians have that idea.